In 1968, they decide to turn the Viet Cong's own weapons against them. It's the summer of 1968, and U.S. troops are fighting the communist Viet Cong near the Cambodian border.
A North Vietnamese fighter takes deadly aim at a vulnerable GI on patrol. But when the communist soldier pulls the trigger, he signs his own death warrant. His Chinese-made AK-56 explodes on firing, killing him instantly.
The GI got lucky, but this is not a one-off.
The thing about these deadly misfires is that they weren't accidents at all.
The extraordinary truth is that the exploding guns are the result of a secret U.S. military operation.
Anybody who's ever fired a gun has the same nightmare that one day they're gonna pull the trigger and the round in the chamber is gonna blow up in their own face. And this nightmare is exactly what was playing through the mind of every VC combat member during Vietnam.
It's not until 30 years later that a book by a Vietnam vet reveals the operation. Codenamed Eldest Son.
The Vietnam Studies and Operations Group was charged with a mission to undermine the will to fight of the Viet Cong. The SOG identified that along the Ho Chi Minh Trail, there were several munitions cache areas where the Viet Cong would resupply ammunition, actual bullets and rounds for their guns.
The recon teams were finding these caches of ammunition. So they come up with this brilliant idea, and that is, rather than trying to haul this ammo off or destroy it on site, why don't we just sabotage it? But importantly, not sabotage all of it, sabotage some of it.
They'll make the communists afraid of their own guns by booby-trapping their bullets.
But how would they pull this off?
Sabotage is a very tricky business because it's part engineering and part espionage. And that's exactly what the SOG had to do to find a way to engineer a round that would explode but still look like other rounds.
First, they refill the bullets with high explosive, but there's a problem.
The most commonly available military-grade explosive at the time actually had a white color to it that did not match the gunpowder that was inside the round itself.
If the communists investigate, they'll detect the fakes.
So the SOG had to create a whole new different kind of explosive that had the same power but matched the color of black powder.
The next challenge is how to get the sabotage bullets back in Viet Cong hands.
SOG's Green Beret reconnaissance patrols come up with an ingenious solution. So the Viet Cong don't suspect sabotage. They make sure to load up only one phony bullet in each magazine or ammo can.
We're not going to kill them one soldier at a time, one bullet at a time. What we're going to do is we're going to create psychological chaos among the enemy's ranks. And that's a pretty big win for a pretty low investment.
In the 1950s, communist militias are battling U.S. influence across the Pacific. To gain an edge, American PSYOPs teams turn to mind games. The Philippines, early 1950s.
The US-backed Filipino government is fighting an insurrection by guerrillas known as the HUC.
The HUC rebellion was a communist rebellion, and like others in Southeast Asia, it was seen as something that the United States had to conquer.
The U.S. is on the defensive as HUC rebels, hidden in the dense forests, threaten to overrun nearby towns. But as the guerrillas prepare their next assault, these fierce fighters stumble across something unsettling.
Early one morning, a group of devoted HUC rebels is moving through the jungle. What they find chills them to the bone.
They find one of their missing soldiers lying dead. His body is completely drained of blood.
There's no bullet wounds, there's no blade marks. Instead, there's just 2 small punctures in his neck.
The reason why is revealed in a 1972 memoir written by a man involved in the conflict. Local CIA station chief Edward Lansdale.
Edward Lansdale is a firm proponent of the use of psychological warfare. He really believes that if you can terrify your enemies, you make them a lot less effective on the battlefield.
Lansdale knows of a local legend he can use to beat the Huk, using fear instead of firepower.
Every culture has its scary monsters. And in the case of the Philippines, one of the key monsters is the aswang. An aswang is a shape-shifting, vampiric, blood-sucking demon.
Edward Lansdale wants to harness the local cultural beliefs, the fear around this sort of vampire, and use that to terrorize the people in the countryside.
Lansdale gets a native Filipino psychological warfare team under his command to spread rumors among the locals in town. They claim a terrifying vampiric aswang demon has been seen stalking the area.
The word starts to reverberate throughout the community, and it scares people.
Next, Lansdale ups the ante.
Lansdale's psychological warfare team creeps into the jungle and sets up an ambush. It's very dark in the forest at night, so they have no problem hiding. When a Huk patrol comes along, they wait for the very last man and then grab him without making a sound.
They kill him without leaving any marks on the body. Then they puncture his neck with 2 small puncture wounds. They hang it by its feet so that all of the blood will drain out through the wounds.
The body is then taken and left in a rebel-held area where they know it's going to be discovered.
When the Huks come back through the area, they find their comrade drained of blood. These Huk soldiers are terrified that their very worst nightmares might have come to life. They abandon their stronghold and they stop launching attacks in that region.
In 1954, the Huk surrender to Philippine troops, and the rebellion is over. In no small part thanks to Lansdale's tactics.
One reason governments use PSYOPs is because they work. In 1969, the U.S. tries a new kind of terrifying mind game against the Viet Cong.
By the beginning of 1969, American forces are getting bogged down in Vietnam.
The U.S. is going all out with saturation bombing and even chemical warfare, but it's just not working.
If anything, the Viet Cong are winning the upper hand. There are some people that suggest that maybe the United States should try a different tactic.
Then, something stirs in the forest.
VC troops operating at night begin to hear anguished, disembodied voices echoing through the darkness.
When you're patrolling in the jungle at night, your senses are limited. So you can only imagine how creepy it must have been to hear these sort of disembodied voices.
The ghosts are all part of a campaign of psychological warfare against North Vietnamese troops. It's called Operation Wandering Soul.
We are playing on North Vietnamese superstitions by claiming that the wandering souls of their unburied dead in the South are guiding our bombs.
The average Viet Cong soldier is a teenager who's not particularly well educated. They're very superstitious, if you will. They believe that spirits can haunt the earth. If your body is left unburied, the presumption is that the soul can't move on, that it becomes a wandering soul.
But where are these ghostly voices really coming from?
No surprise, but the haunting voices, they're not ghosts. Instead, they're American tape recordings being blared out from massive speaker systems.
PSYOPs teams put Vietnamese voices through an echo chamber. They process it and add horror show sound effects to up the ante.
We don't know how effective Wandering Soul was against the enemy, but we do know it spooked our allies.
There are specific orders issued to the Army that they are not to play this in earshot of their South Vietnamese allies because it wasn't just affecting the target audience, the Viet Cong, but it was also affecting our allies and scaring the hell out of them too.